Mastering life and business with your winning path. Come with us to master a path of success that will revolutionize your life and business journey. We provide strategies that transform dreams into reality, steering you towards victory. Immerse yourself in a reservoir of knowledge, unlocking potential and boosting confidence. By joining us, you will witness your capabilities unfold in ways you never imagined. Discover tools to conquer challenging terrains, staying resilient amidst hurdles. Embrace innovation, elevate performance, and watch your vision come alive. Together, we can conquer peaks and create a future beyond ordinary. So, start your journey with Innovate to Elevate today.
All right, welcome back to another episode of Innovate to Elevate. Today, we're going to continue along a series that we started, I believe, a couple episodes ago, Aaron, talking about the book writing process and what that looks like. And today we thought we'd talk about really where a lot of authors begin, and not all of them, but it's a really good place to start in terms of getting going on your book process. And that's with brainstorming. And so we thought we'd kind of just run down, like, here are some ideas that we've used, because Aaron and I have both written multiple books, singly and as co-authors. And so we've had the opportunity to kind of put some of these things into practice. You know, when you talk about brainstorming, Aaron, you know, where do you begin, or where do you suggest our listeners begin, more importantly?
Well, first, let me start off by saying the brainstorming process in my mind is probably the most important part of the book writing process, because when you talk about writer's block, if you don't have a good brainstorm in the beginning and a good outline, because brainstorming takes you to the outline, you are going to get writer's block and not be able to complete a book. You and I write anywhere from 2 to 5 books a month, give or take. Granted, some of them are coloring books, so we can't necessarily call those long format books, but our long format books, we can write 2 a month, give or take. And the reason that we're able to do that is because of the brainstorming process in the beginning. We clearly define what we want. So as far as the question goes, like, where do I start? For me, I start with the idea. So what is the idea that I'm writing about? Is it going to be fiction or nonfiction?
That's a very important distinction.
So from there, it's kind of, okay, so this idea is going down, let's say we're doing an idea about business marketing, because we're actually in the process of writing a book about business marketing. So let me go do some research on some other books, figure out maybe what tones I like of other authors, what makes their book successful, because I want to emulate a lot of that kind of stuff within the book writing process to make sure that this book is successful. And then from there, it's just character development. Now, in a nonfiction book, let's say about business, you know, the mindset book. So that's the other book that we're working on right now. That one actually has characters in it. Now, are they standard characters like what normal people would think of? No, because there's really no backstory on the character, but we still use a name.
Right. So that is a person that is a character.
So that would be the next place that I would go to. Then you kind of have to figure out, okay, so you have your idea, you have your character. What world, what realm are you building this book in? Going to the mindset book, that whole realm, that sphere that book is built in is mindset. It's built within the human body. And then that human body operates within business in this first one. So yes, it's not necessarily I'm building a world with trees and landscapes and buildings and all that. It's just that is the world it lives in.
Right. And I think the important part of thinking about the character and the world and where does this take place and the structure you use for that moving forward is it gives you an opportunity to stay within a lane. So that you're like, when you're clearly defining those things up front, character, or in a nonfiction space, what's the tone? How is that going to live? How are you going to have that conversation with the reader? You know, the world or the plot that you're thinking about, you know, in the mindset book, obviously that's in our brain. So we want the reader to be in that, for lack of a better cliche way, that mindset. We want them to be in that space and know that if we go away from that, they're going to be confused. From a publisher editor standpoint, they look at that as what they call staying reader centric, like keeping the reader in mind all of the time. So these are things that you can think about as you're talking about or brainstorming, like, how do I continue to keep it reader centric? Basically, how do I keep the person turning the page? And it seems simple, but there's a craft to it. You want to make sure that character stays fluent. You're not all over the place. You're not jumping worlds, or unless you're writing a sci-fi novel, then maybe that's part of it, but then you've clearly defined that as the space that you're going to. And then as we kind of roll through that, I think you have to get into a process of starting to put some words to those things, right? We're not talking about an outline yet, but like kind of mapping out what could some of those things be. I don't want to get too crazy on an outline, or even this is maybe like a pre-write for a pre-write, right? We're starting to jot down notes as we're brainstorming these characters and spaces and worlds. Maybe like in our case, for the mindset book or the marketing book, we're going to bring in either case studies of actual experiences, or we're going to bring in our personal experiences that we've done in business, so that we make sure that the reader is like, oh, these authors know what they're talking about, and they've already had this experience. And because I'm learning from their experience, I don't need to do that. That gives you that opportunity.
To kind of touch on that and using personal experiences, the mindset book is a great book that this can kind of be seen in, because so many of the stories, and I'll call them stories, and when you're talking about jumping worlds, that book does in many ways, because it's talking about different mindsets, and it's a different story within each mindset, within each chapter. With that being said, each of those mindsets, we're bringing in a lot of our real world experience from various companies or various consulting clients that we've done, that we've seen. Granted, the names are not real of those clients and the business structure itself. So, we might call a company a tech company, but in reality, it was a marketing company, let's say. So we do that a lot in our writing style to protect our clients and their stuff that they do. But understand that when we're talking about the brainstorming session, it's something as simple as, maybe, oh, hey, last week I was talking to X, Y, and Z about this mindset that they were in that was causing this in their company. And that just gets written down on a piece of paper. And that's where, when you talk about the brainstorming aspect versus the pre-write or the outline of the book, it really becomes formal versus informal. So this is the informal writing process of the outline, which then becomes the formal process.
Right. And, invest a ton of time here. And that's where, if you're in the nonfiction space, do research. Are there things that you want to consider as expert resources or those kinds of things? If you're in the fiction space, like, I think that's something that makes fictional writers successful is they pull in real world types of things that are not so fictional, that it holds the story together. And knowing some of a language or a tone or the vernacular of a space, like if your setting is in Eastern Maine versus Southern California, like you're just going to speak differently. So like that's part of the research project. And making sure that you are clearly kind of defining those, but spend a lot of time in this brainstorming space. Sometimes I think on my first book, I spent 6 to 8 months just on this phase before I even before I started kind of the rough draft and outline of the actual physical writing piece of it.
This is something that I've seen. Don't worry about your grammar. Don't worry about punctuation. Don't worry about any of that. In this phase, the outline phase, your pre-write phase, that is a whole different phase. And don't worry about using complex words in any of this stuff. I mean, in Jeremy knows, I don't talk in very many complex words in my day-to-day life, but when I start writing a book, they become more complex. They flow a lot better. I use much different grammar than what I would in day-to-day life. I do the same thing in professional emails. My entire writing structure changes because it's just that it's a professional email that is now in the world.
Right.
So just because you're not someone who uses these big fancy terms every single day of your life, cool, you can still write. It's easy.
Right.
It's very easy.
I love that. And I love that thinking about don't get caught in the editing phase while you're trying to even just brainstorm. I know when I worked with an editor in the past, she's like, just stop trying to edit your book. That's our job. Just write. We'll figure it out later.
When you think about why only 1% of the population finishes their book, it's because they get so caught up in the little nuances that really should be someone else's job or done much farther down the line in your book writing process.
Right.
Ultimately, that's what failed me in my first book when I was 16, which I'm planning on finishing this next year now, is I just got so caught up in it needs to be perfect now instead of just writing the damn book.
Right.
Just write the damn book.
Right.
You'll figure out everything else after.
Another experience you could think about, and obviously Aaron and I have had this experience because we are co-authoring books, is collaborative writing. Work together with somebody, and that's going to look different every time. It's going to look different for every book. And again, it's the strengths. Where's your strengths? But at the same time, like if you spend a bunch of time up front, like with all of these things in the brainstorming phase, it really kind of writes itself. I don't want to say it's that simple, but after doing this multiple times, it sure makes it go a lot smoother. And when you integrate and collaborate with somebody else, it actually makes it go even smoother because there's just more opportunity there.
Well, I'm going to drop something here, and this is not just for writing a book, but even for business. And it's something that I learned from someone else who was in business, and Jeremy was in the same room as me when we heard this. I'll see if you remember this. Whenever you're brainstorming something, whether it's business, life, or a book, pick 3 different rooms to go into. The first room is your quiet room. No one else is in there with you unless it's someone else who's actively brainstorming with you. This room is your special space. Nothing bugs you. Nothing tells you no. Let your ideas run crazy. Does not matter what the idea is. Then you go into your next room. And in this next room, you bring in someone or some people that are going to tell you no. That is a horrible idea. And let them tell you that. The thing is when someone tells you no and it's a horrible idea, it's because they fear the idea themselves. And I don't know if the person told us this part, but what I've learned from this process is whenever someone tells me no, it's because they fear the idea themselves or they don't know enough about the idea. So the more someone tells you no, the more you should be writing about it, because now you know that you can teach someone something. Then take that back into a third room and refine your thought. There's your brainstorming session.
So if you want some more brainstorming ideas, feel free to reach out to us, put in the comments below, or leave us a review and let us know what works for you and what hasn't worked for you. Because really, we're here to innovate and elevate your life and your business. And in this case, your book writing process.
100%. Thank you guys for watching. Don't forget to check out the merch, H2E gear.com. Link will be in the description. That's all I got.
Let's make it happen. Go write your book today.
Let's do it.
Mastering life and business with your winning path. Come with us to master a path of success that will revolutionize your life and business journey. We provide strategies that transform dreams into reality, steering you towards victory. Immerse yourself in a reservoir of knowledge, unlocking potential and boosting confidence. By joining us, you will witness your capabilities unfold in ways you never imagined. Discover tools to conquer challenging terrains, staying resilient amidst hurdles. Embrace innovation, elevate performance, and watch your vision come alive. Together, we can conquer peaks and create a future beyond ordinary. So, start your journey with Innovate to Elevate today.